if you get into a fight with a spouse and then they're like, don't do that, I'm gonna have a panic attack. Don't talk about that thing or I'll have a panic attack. What they do is they threaten you and say like, if you continue, then I will punish you in some way. And so what happens is you stop. And so they learn that if they threaten you with a panic attack, you stop. And so you train them to bring up their panic attack issue, and then it becomes part of their identity, because then they're like, oh no, if I talk about my mother, I have a panic attack. And then it's like, that's my threat wall for everybody. And then everyone reinforces that and trains them that, oh, if you need to get me to stop, just tell me that you'll have a panic attack. There were there are days where like Layla would be not in as good of a mood because of whatever. And I would try, and this is earlier in the relationship, and I would try and be like, hey, what can I do? Like, let me do these things. And she would still stay in a kind of a bad mood, right? And so then what would happen is I would then get stern and be like, all right, like, do your own thing. I'm gonna just stop talking to you. And what would happen is that she would then snap out of it as soon as I got mean. And so then what she taught me is that if I am mean, she will stop being in a bad mood. What happens immediately after I get mean? She stops. So I learned that. I mean, it's like kids cry, parent gives them a cookie, and you now teach them to cry to get cookies. Like, it's just like so simple. And the other piece is if you reward too long afterwards, you still teach them something, but not what you intended. So if you train a dog and then you give the cookie after 30 seconds, the original thing that you try to reinforce is no longer associated, but they do make an association with whatever thing you gave them. So the question is, what did you associate with the reward? And so like a parent, for example, fast forward, has a teenager who sneaks out of the house, right? And then they come back in the middle of the night, and then as soon as they walk in the door, they punish them. And so what happens? You punish a kid for coming home. And then they're surprised the kid doesn't want to come home. You didn't punish them for leaving, you punished them for coming home. If I'm being nice to her when she's having a bad mood, then she's like, okay, I should reinforce this rather than extinguish it, which is what it was before, which is like, I would be nice, I'd be nice, I'd be nice, I'd have nothing back. She'd just continue to stay in a bad mood. And so I'm like, well, that doesn't work. I'll switch tactics. But it did make her feel better. She just never told me. I would get angry that she's in a bad mood at something else because now it's just like affecting me. Yeah, I had this bad conversation with so-and-so, and I'm like, okay.
Or like, now I've realized if he's in a bad mood or mad about something in general, I used to get mad that he was mad. I'm like, this is ridiculous. You're like, ruining your day and whatever. And now I actually go the opposite, and I become really playful and funny and sweet and loving.
Yeah.
And then that tends to actually de-escalate the situation.
Yeah, when she's all like girly and cute, I usually like, people try to avoid punishment, right? That's what they try to do. And so if your spouse punishes you, then if you can't feel like you can escape, then the only thing to do to try and get them to not punish you is punish them for punishing you. And the hope is that if you punish them, that they won't punish you again because they got punished. But then that person starts the next countermeasure, and then it just, how do you teach a kid to talk? Like, we're just organisms, and like we reinforce. Think about it as a baby. Like, humans teach speech with zillions of reinforcement cycles. So think about it. Baby doesn't do anything, then baby makes a noise. Ooh, hey, look, they're making noise. Celebrate, celebrate, celebrate. Baby makes more noise, more noise, more noise. Eventually, one of those noises approximates a word. Then we freak out. So then it makes more and more and more sounds like that because it gets positive reinforcement. And then all of a sudden it makes a full word, everyone freaks out. And then it starts making more noise and more words, people freak out more. And then what do? We tell it to shut up because it talks so much. And so like, it's just these reinforcement cycles that happen over, like that's how we human. And so we just have to look at whenever there's a marriage. It's like the thing with Layla. If the guy gets mad and then the girl shuts up, if he wants her to be quiet, he realizes mad equals quiet. And the thing is punishment, it's like reward. Timing for these things matters a ton. And so if you start talking and someone cuts you off, or you say a statement and someone disproves it or undermines you or says it's stupid, you don't learn not to talk, you learn not to talk in front of them. And so the learning's super specific. People think it's general. It's very specific, like how you learn. Now, if that person punishes you in enough situations in general, right, like then you might, generalize the learning. And punishment and reward also sit on separate, they're not 1 + 1, they actually are separate. And so you can have someone who has punished you a lot and rewarded you a lot, and that is what creates conflict. And so it's like, I have this parent that I have good memories with. I also have terrible memories with them. And so that's why you have this huge struggle. So you have tons of reward and, and reinforcement and tons of punishment. And so you're like, they text you and you're like, man, I would love to have access to more of this positive, but I don't want to risk this negative. But they don't, because otherwise, as people describe it, they describe it as zero, as though they canceled out, but they don't. You feel both completely on separate graphs. What's crazy is that if people learned this stuff, so many relationships, I feel like, would actually be so much better. People don't like the idea of training because it makes people feel like they don't have free will. But if you train someone, which you can, then like if you want your wife to do something more, then whenever she does something that you like, reward her.
And you can use it to your own benefit. I mean, I think that's why you have to, marry somebody who you trust. Like I know when Alex is training me, and I think he knows when I'm training him, and it's always like for the better. Like I don't think we've ever done it intentionally for the worse, right? And then when we figure out that, it's like thinking through, like, okay, what am I accidentally doing that is, punishing this person, or like what thing that I'm doing, and byproduct of them being in my environment is punishing to them, and it's like, okay, well, how can I not do that?
And training is maybe the taboo word. We could, if I wanted to be politically correct, I would say motivate or encourage. Like I'm encouraging her to do these things. I'm motivated, but like fundamentally, they do something, you have an after effect. Like that is a cycle of reinforcement. Punishment, it's really difficult you don't teach things with punishment. You get people to avoid a specific thing. So if you punish someone for sneaking out of the window, you don't punish sneaking out, you punish sneaking out of the window. And so they still want the thing they're seeking, the reward that they're trying to leave the house for, they're gonna just try and find another way to get it. And so, whereas punishment creates lots of new, different, innovative ways to get around, reward focuses on one behavior. If I have a carrot, everyone comes for the carrot. But if I hit it, it could do 100 things. So like punishment sprays the activity of like what someone's gonna do afterwards, but reward focuses. But it's funny because if everybody knows the game, it doesn't make it less effective. It actually makes it more effective because then you can understand what they're trying to do faster. It's just a better way to communicate. At the end of the day, you have to organize your environment to change the way you behave. Like it's the easiest way to change behavior is just change someone's surroundings. The ultimate is that two people are working something that's mutually reinforcing, which is why couples that build businesses together have a far lower divorce rate because they have a mutually reinforcing thing. It reinforces both of them. Why do you guys work so much? Because we both do it and we both get reinforced at the same time for doing it together. We're just little rats with levers getting pellets.
Yeah.
And like our business is a little pellet machine. And so we're like, ooh, content.